craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Ever. It was something out of a movie. I didn't know if it was our jets or what was going on. There was jets flying around, helicopters going everywhere. I didn't know what was going on.
And that eyewitness account just moments after a locally based fighter jet pilot parachuted out of his stricken plane and survived. His F-16C crashed in some woods between two heavily populated suburban neighborhoods. The miraculous story right now on the afternoon edition of News Channel 8.
Now, News Channel 8's non-stop local news.
And we are glad you're with us on this sunny Wednesday afternoon, and we have the latest developments from Prince George's, where earlier today, about 9 o'clock, a pilot ejected safely from his F-16C Falcon just moments before it plunged to the ground in flames. The pilot, we still don't know his name, was only slightly hurt, and you can see him in this remarkable video that we have exclusively for you just after he parachuted down to the ground. Now, we've been out in front of this story since it happened, and we continue to work the situation from all the angles. We begin this news hour with Kevin Lewis, who's live for us in Clinton, close by the crash site. Hi, Kevin.
Hi there, Dave. Yeah, we're broadcasting to you live from the back porch of a woman's home in a neighborhood very close to the crash site. Behind me, there is a clearing, and you can see a number of uniformed military members. One has a long gun in hand beside some members of the fire department. Pepco just rolled up on scene. These folks are securing a perimeter around the crash site beside a neighborhood of single-family homes. For all obvious reasons, they want to keep that scene secure, but they also want to make sure that no one takes any of the pieces of the wreckage. We're also learning that there was live ammunition on board this F-16, which explains why a lot of people heard the sound of gunfire post-crash. Officials telling us this F-16 C-style aircraft worth tens of millions of dollars was flying a training mission with other D.C. Air National Guard jets. Two eyewitnesses told us around 9:15 this morning they heard a distinct pop, looked up into the bright blue sky, and watched as the plane plummeted to the ground. First responders flooded the area, initially having some trouble locating the downed male pilot and his aircraft. We obtained some photos of the pilot in an open field with the communications radio in hand, his orange parachute pictured behind him. Officials tell us he has non-life-threatening injuries. We've actually just learned that they are minor injuries, to be more specific. This crash taking place about 6 miles southwest of Joint Base Andrews, where the pilot and plane are based.
I was on my porch. I heard a loud noise. I looked up in the sky. It was a jet on fire. I seen the explosion in the air. At that time, the pilot ejected on fire. The jet nosedived into the neighborhood, behind the neighborhood, blew up, knocked me on the ground. At that time, I had to get up and run towards the pilot, but there was bullets flying everywhere and blowing up.
And back out live, you can see two Humvees have just pulled up in that clearing between the neighborhood we're in and the wooded area across the way where that plane is believed to have gone down. They took some shovels out of those Humvees and are now returning to the neighborhood. We're learning now in the 3 o'clock hour here that this downed plane was one of 4 F-16 C-style fighter jets that were conducting a training mission. Again, one of them, at least one, the one that crashed, had live ammunition. The Air Force expected to hold a press conference around 3:30. We will bring that live on the air as it happens. We are live in Clinton. I'm Kevin Lewis, News Channel 8.
And I have a picture of an F-16C right here. Belongs to the D.C. National Guard. So this is exactly the kind of plane we're talking about. Can't say with any certainty if this is in fact the plane that crashed. But it is instructive as to what we have learned about all of this.
You're watching News Channel 8 and special programming right now of the presidential inauguration. The 45th president, soon to be, that is Donald J. Trump, as he is now making his way to the U.S. Capitol for the swearing-in process as he takes over as our commander-in-chief.
And as President Obama and President-elect Donald Trump make their way to the Capitol, you can see on the lower right-hand side of your screen, former President George W. Bush and former First Lady Laura Bush making their way down the steps to the stage there at the the west front of the Capitol. So with more and more presidents and former first ladies being seated, you know that the moment is upon us. And it is 11:47 that they are planning to swear in Donald Trump as president.
As we talked about, people gathering not only on the mall to celebrate the moment, but also those here to protest. And so looking at a picture here of some law enforcement officials. Again, we've had some issues earlier today. We saw some protests, one getting out of hand near one of the entry points.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, Donald John Trump.
Glad to have you with us on this very hot and humid Thursday in the nation's capital. And we've been watching now for about an hour and 20 minutes the proceedings of the Nevada Parole Board. O.J. Simpson there on the right-hand side, leaving the room now. The Parole Board on the left-hand side, leaving their facility in Carson City, Nevada, where they will now go and deliberate. And they seem to indicate that they wanted to do about a half hour or so of that. And they'll give us a 5-minute warning when they're ready to come back in and cast their ballots. And that is a proceeding that is done in public. And so we will go back there to Carson City so we can show it to you.
The question here, as with all parole hearings, is whether or not you have served enough time in prison on this case. Considering all of these factors, my vote is to grant your parole effective when eligible.
Thank you.
And I concur with Commissioner Korda and grant parole. And in addition, our decision, although difficult, is fair and just.
I concur with Commissioner Korda and agree to grant parole.
Mr. Simpson, before I cast my vote, I want to let you know that we believe that we're a fair board. We believe that we're a consistent board. I will let you know that consistency also goes to parole. And we do not look kindly upon parole violations. And if I cast my vote to grant and it concludes the hearing, our expectation would be that you not violate even the simplest condition of parole. Having said that, I am prepared to cast a vote. I am prepared to ask the commissioners to set conditions. If that happens, we will produce an order sometime in the next 15 to 20 minutes that will be faxed to you or presented to you at the institution, and it will become a public record. So based on all of that, Mr. Simpson, I do vote to grant parole when eligible, and that will conclude this hearing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Law enforcement.
Governor Larry Hogan in Annapolis today, or in Baltimore, I beg your pardon. He's in Baltimore. That's on the right-hand side of your picture. On the left-hand side, in Richmond. That is Ray LaHood, who's a former Department of Transportation secretary. Real quickly, just to sum up what the governor had to say, the Baltimore Police Department is about to get supplemented by Maryland State Police and U.S. Marshal's Office deputies and the Fugitive Task Force for a real tough crackdown on crime. He said Baltimore's crime rate is infecting that city. He said the state will accelerate the demolition of some structures that criminals have been using as their headquarters and their stomping grounds. And the Maryland governor, that is, announcing some really tough steps being taken to try and stop the plague of crime that is washing over much of Baltimore at this time. Now, quickly to Richmond, where Ray LaHood, the former Secretary of Transportation, asked by the governor to do an extensive survey of Metro. He's made some recommendations, and they're holding a news conference to detail them.
To visit our monuments, to visit Capitol Hill, and to get around the region. When I had the privilege of sitting on the platform in 2009, when President Obama was sworn in for his first inauguration, I saw 2 million people sitting on the mall. All of those people were delivered there by one of the best transit systems in the country.